and that's why it's the industrial heartland of northern Italy, to be honest. Flat land means you can build quickly. Well, at the moment we've got a breakaway that's well, built quite a gap between itself and the peloton. A few bumps and bruises, as you'll see in a moment, but nothing really to say about today's course, save for it's the longest established one-day race in cycling history, so the organisers tell us. It's going since first run 140 years ago. There you go. There's your opening terrain, as you can see, and then it all starts to get a bit lumpy, and then, oops, hello. The Superga, we do it once, but instead of finishing off the last 600 metres, we turn away on a hairpin at the bottom, do a big loop, and then come back and do it all again. That's your finish line just in front of the Basilica, and this one is actually open. They allowed us in, so we were able to dip our fingers in some holy water. Signing on after the blessing, everybody else. Bardiani are here, as you see. Stefano Pirazzi hoping to turn the clock back and maybe do what he did in the Giro, what was it, 2012? Big principal teams are here. Warren Barguil for Team Giant Alpecin. Possibly favourite is Romain Bardet. This is David Rebellin, a favourite amongst certain sections of the crowd, but of course for the rest of us we know he wears a black hat occasionally. You saw Uran, AG Tour Le Mondial are here with Domenico Pozzovivo, Pierre Roger Latour. I'm very much looking to see how he fares today, and Romain Bardet, who starts as race favourite. BMC also in the house, that was Peter Belitz, but they're here with Darwin Atapuma, Ben Hermans, Sami Sanchez, Ryder Ajidal, the ever popular in Italy. Here's Romain Bardet.
Yeah, the form is good for the last race of this season, and I hope to do well also today, but almost on Saturday in Lombardia.
Does the finale of today's race inspire you?
Yeah, it doesn't suit me really well. It's a little bit brutal, but it's a good opportunity to test the leg before Saturday.
You know, this is the oldest one-day race in the world. How important is it for you?
Yeah, it's good to participate and to see that the race is also well organized year after year. So it's special to race in Italy and in this kind of great classic.
In which role can we expect to see you today?
I just want to have a good race, you know, be in the final and have good sensations for Saturday is important. So it's a very hard race on Saturday. We looked at the final yesterday, so just trying to get the legs going.
Ryder Ajidal, winner of the Giro in 2012, so always a go-to for the local interviewers. Well, some big teams have come along, and indeed it may well be a 1HC event, so just below World Tour, but it certainly is worth taking on, and a good fix, I guess you might say, in terms of how you're rolling ahead of Il Lombardia, the race of the falling leaves, the final classic of the season. So by the time we got underway today, who was going to be tempted? Well, plenty were, to be honest, and straight out of the blocks, Adriano Malori, decent time trialist, so setting a good tempo, if he can get his gears right, suddenly does exactly that. Indeed, buried himself at the task at hand. Nippo Fantini trying to join him. It was to come to naught, I'm afraid, but good effort by him. Unfortunately, I believe he's hit the deck later on. We'll get confirmation on that in a few moments' time, but certainly looked to have been involved in an accident that happened just after the start here. In fact, when we finally did get our breakaway settled down, 3 riders, and pretty good riders as well, managed to extricate themselves and head up the road, but it took a long time to establish, and there was a few rolls of the dice, like Bardiani. Gazprom as well also wanted to get themselves involved, and the red flag for broken road surfaces, as you can see. Yes, they can catch you out. Rainlo, the Moldovan champion, resplendent in his gold sash across the chest, not to be one of those that would finally establish the breakaway. Took a while then, and there was lots of chasing, and in fact the speed for the first hour was well over 50 kilometers an hour, so they were busy, despite the fact that, as you can see, it's reasonably flat, save for the underpasses as they headed over one of the highways locally. In fact, that's a train track. There you go. So constant probing and reassembling And then when we finally got our breakaway up the road, it was a pretty focused chase as well that was being engaged as we headed towards the Basilica. And I'm afraid that on the floor was Scarponi. Not a happy place to be, I'm afraid. Also down on the ground, I believe Mallory as well. And it looked like, well, Paul's in the background, who was also suffering, but he got up and got away. As you can see, Diego Rosa just waiting with his friend Scarponi, who was on the deck. Well, they're not certainly going to be challenging today, so who will be? That's the big question. 41.9 kilometres only to go, so it has been extraordinarily pacey. That takes nothing away from what will be a real challenge out there. Crossing a dead centre of the Tinkoff team. They'll be working for Rafa Majka. He was runner-up here last year. A race that was taken by Diego Rosa, but it was he that was at the side of the road, the defending champion, trying to help Michele Scarponi to get up. Last thing you need here is any kind of disruption to the rhythm, and it's a high tempo that they've set themselves today. So when we come to our final climb, that's where all the action will be. Maximum inclines of 14%. In fact, that 14% dead centre of the climb is just about where they will start to make the turn onto the loop and then come back and do it all again. Astana, if they've been hobbled by Scarponi, working for not only Rosa but Fabio Aru, who was third last year. Is it too short, the climb at the end of the day? That's the big question. Well, we'll have plenty more questions, of course, from yourselves. You'll be able to pose them to Brian Smith, sitting alongside me. At least we've got fine weather today, but it is moderately chilly, virtually no wind. This race, Brian, they're eating into the countryside very, very quickly today. It's fast.
It's always a fast start. It's the nature of the course. It's very flat at the start, and you know, we get two ascents towards the finish, and we do a loop. And you know, I can remember last year the breakaway was away, and it was a fast really into the last the penultimate climb, and it's a really difficult climb. It's you know, length of the climb is 4.9 kilometres. You know, average is just over 9%, so it's a difficult climb, and obviously suits the punchy climbers. But the pace is really on. They were given these three riders, Demarchi, Grosso and Kenyuk, 11 minutes, but that's whittling down very quickly. And you know, we're expecting the you know, the winner, similar to last year, coming from the main peloton.
Sub 40 kilometres to go, and here is our breakaway at last. Alessandro Demarchi from BMC. We have Peter Kenyuk from Team Sky, and we have Grosso from Nippo, Vini Fantini, and they're doing a great job. Go back. We have a 5-minute gap to the breakaway up the road with just over 36 kilometres to go. The break is coming through San Rafael Cimena. Lovely part of the world, this. It may well be flat, but you see that building that's way up ahead? It's actually a little hotel, former seminary. And they do the possibly the nicest lunch. It's a little trattoria they've got in there that you could possibly imagine. So yeah, knock yourself out for about €8. Bargain. 36.4 kilometres then remaining. That 5-minute gap, it was, Brian, as much as 11 minutes to our breakaway men earlier on today. It is being wound in, and there's a sense of urgency, and no surprise, because with Peter Kenyuk up there and Alessandro Demarchi, that's danger.
It's a quality breakaway. Three strong riders. Let's not discount Edward Grosso from Nippo Fantini, a 24-year-old Romanian rider. And Peter Kenyuk obviously wanting a nice hit out before this weekend. Demarchi, who was going well yesterday in Trevari Valacin. So they got 11 minutes, and then you can just see a mixture of teams coming towards the front. Cannondale, you know, really up in the pace now. We've seen Gazprom Rusvelo, the second division Russian team, coming up towards the front. AG2R also, the French team, towards the front. You can just see the pace. They're averaging 46 kilometres an hour so far. Very, very fast, but the pace will soon slow as soon as we hit the first ascent.
Certainly will, but we're ahead of the game today. You see that Cannondale is doing a good deal of work. They've got Rigoberto Urán, who could function very, very well on the kind of inclines that we've got. Too short for some, but very good for others. This is Peter Kenyuk you're looking at right now, who just heads the trio just for now. That's Grosso behind him, the aforementioned 24-year-old Romanian. Went well in the Tour of Burgos as well. He's had some very, very good results and runners-up in the his own national individual time trial, and top 5 in the road race as well. He's good in all terrains, I think you could say, about Grusso in the orange. We know about Peter Koenig, twice a national champion, and took a stage on the Vuelta as part of the team time trial unit, you may remember. So he can set a decent pace as well himself, and he doesn't mind an incline that we're going to face. But Alessandro De Marchi is the danger man, I think, in the break. And look at those peaks. They are as nothing compared to the Alto Campo that he skipped up in the Vuelta last year, in fact. That was stage 14. It was a big one that day. He got himself a huge amount of kudos, did the Italian. And likewise today for BMC, and they're being given the excuse they're not going to have to push on too much because they've got a man in the break. Same deal for Sky, and both BMC and Sky have got other cards to play later on in this race today. They've got Michael Landa, this is Sky. Leo Koenig, of course, Brian's extremely familiar with. That's where we're heading. Look at the Basilica there, just perched up on the top of the mount, and it really rises up out of a flat plain that is the industrial heartland of Italy. Milan and Turin, of course, very much industrial cities, and when you come here, you really feel it. Bicycle making as well, a lot of that going on around here, which is why it was the original race. That's why it's 140 years old, or at least the first race was. They haven't had 140 incarnations of it, by the way. Kind of wars get in the way. Also financial crises, it seems. But it has been back with us the last 4 years after just dipping under in 2008 when the world went pop. Yeah, Sky have also got Wout Powell, don't forget, David Lopez. So they've got a lot of reason not to have to chase, and Peter Koenig has given them the perfect excuse. That man now, Alessandro De Marchi, he's capable of winning this day. The problem is the peloton now look motivated. A lot of teams have come here. They're finding their legs ahead of what is a very busy season as far as one-day races are concerned in Italy. And here is your climb, Brian.
Yeah, it's 4.9 kilometres in length. Average is 9.1%. Maximum slope goes up to 14%. We actually go up and just turn down the descent. It's quite a tricky descent all the way back to the foot of it. And we actually go left here. We go left here up towards the finishing line. But in the first time up it, we go straight on. We don't actually turn left here. So it's going to be they're not going to be able to see the finish before they actually finish. But this is the last bit, the left-hand turn, that they don't come up the penultimate time. So they come pretty much 8/10 of the way up the climb, down the other side, round, and then straight back up here to finish. Yeah, nice little coffee shop, by the way, in the just in the crypt here, if you're ever up this part of the world. So yes, they'll take that little hillock, but for the final time they will turn a left on a hairpin and take 600 meters to the line, and it could well be that it's duped out at that point. Last year Rosa did the deed, beat Micah, Aru, Pinot and Poles. When you read off that list, you appreciate that it can be done here. Pinot was in the break last year, was a sort of a last man standing amongst others. But De Marchi, Koenig and Grosso have got a chance, and they're going to have a go. So they skittle across what has been largely this kind of terrain for much of the day. It doesn't look too arduous, but the pace that they're setting, Brian, most certainly is. 23 Celsius, still warm as well. It's one of these races where you've got a lot of speed in the legs. You're hitting 46 kilometres an hour average. The pace is on right from the start, and then you hit this climb, and sometimes your legs fall off a little bit. You know, sometimes a lot of these climbers take a few kilometres to get the climbing legs on, and they don't have time. It's a short enough climb, and it needs to be a real punchy effort, and we're going to see this peloton explode the first time up, and then I think we're going to see possibly 40-50 riders come round again up towards the finish, and you know, it's going to be every man for themselves. You saw there that Lampre Merida are getting interested. Well, they've got Rui Costa. He's on great form at the moment. He had a good run in Canada as well recently. They've also got Diego Ulissi, who won this back in 2013, so they'll be busy. Sky, though, at the moment, because of Koenig, same deal for BMC and of course for Nippo Vini Fantini, have got an excuse not to push on just yet.
really the advantage is going to be for those who've got slightly fresher legs on the pace today. They've had to take quite a few turns on the front, and that burnout is the sort of thing that hits you for the second time of asking up this incline we've got later on.
They're going to hit the climb with, I think, just under 4 minutes advantage. You can just see the teams coming towards the front, and the thing that they've got is a lot of these riders will not make it over the first time, so they're burning their matches now, because in a professional team you've got your job to do, and if your job is to ride the first time on the climb or before the climb and then swing over, then your job's done. So that's why the pace is very fast into this climb now.
Just pondering the chances of these guys making it all the way. I'm not being given a rolling clock at the moment, but I believe the gap has come down to about 3.5 minutes. They are quality, these guys who are up here, and no disrespect to Eduard Gruso either, the Romanian for Nippo Fantini in the sort of tangerine accented jersey. You can see his team as well just getting a little bit busy, trying to mess things up a little bit for those who are pushing on. Yeah, he's pretty handy, the 24-year-old, and he was fourth on the Gran Piemonte last year. That race, of course, still to come this week in this packed program that leads up to Il Lombardia. There were so many races, with classic races within Italy, both at this time of year. Dead heat of summer as well used to be extraordinarily busy. That's a barren time now, just, well, because of Grand Tours and frankly, just that built-in around the Tour, that sort of hiatus, really. I know there are other races going on, but you know what I mean. Certainly one-day races don't draw it out. This is a strange one, this one. It's been around for an awful long time. 1870 was its first incarnation. 8 riders set off. I think 4 made it from Milan to Turin. And, well, we're retracing their steps, I think you might say, if on slightly better roads these days, although that's questionable depending on the build quality that has been engaged by the local artisans. Should we call them that, shall we? Anyway, moving on before we get ourselves in trouble with people who wear dark glasses. 27.8 kilometres to go. There you are. The gap is down to just under 3 minutes. And despite the presence of the helicopter, the leading Palomino here with a pale tail is doing a great job in the hands of Nicoletta Bardiani. I'm sure that's her name. So we're failing to spook the animals. I really think they should give them some grace. And one of the local mountain dogs here, bless him, no barrel underneath, I notice. That's further up towards Switzerland. Anyway, 2 minutes and 49, and our trio here, they look tired. There's not a great deal of conversation going on. You'd expect that. They kind of know the job at hand and what they've got to do. But to be honest, it's just about that pivot point now, where if it gets to 2 minutes, they'll probably hold them with about 15 to go. That's when you're going to have that. You've got a secondary loop, and we think that's where the catch is going to come. It's only 23 Celsius today, Brian, but these guys are generating an awful lot of heat. Look at the pace. That actually looks like it's speeded up old-time movie.
There's going to be half this peloton get over the first time up this climb, and that's why they're being used up. A lot of the riders in the lime green of Cannondale have done their job already. Tinkoff have come to the front as well. They are really driving into the bottom of this climb. 2 minutes and 45. You've got to remember they had a maximum 11 minutes, and since the teams have come to the front, it's been ridden down very, very quickly. Roman Kreuziger really spinning that gear. These guys are doing almost 60 kilometers an hour, so the pace is coming down. There's Rafał Majka, the Polish champion, just sitting. Sergio Paulino just behind. Kirienka looking after the skyballs. Wout Poels is there. Behind Wout Poels you can see Leopold Koenig, one of the favourites for today. So it's going to be fast and furious over the final 25 kilometres.
It's absolutely remarkable what they're doing out here. I'm wondering, actually, Trek Segafredo, they're coming with Frank Schleck as well as, I think that's a gentleman who likes Aru. Yeah, right, Ejidal, but Frank Schleck might well be a sort of a side bet for some of you. If you want to put a scoop of ice cream on it, you may well have a party at the end of today. We'll see. He's given to blowing hot and very, very cold, and it's been quite cold recently, so Frankie, you never know. Look how still it is. And yes, this is fresh water And yes, I've dispatched Brian just a few moments ago to deal with what looked like a mosquito, but was about the size of an eagle. This is Torino then, standing up 167.5 meters high. I think that must mean above sea level, but anyway, we'll let them off. And the mole, Antonellia. The mole, I bet it means something else. I haven't seen a almost blind mammal beatified here, but anyway, we'll find out another day about the mole. That was sort of dropped on us by our local hosts here. 25.4 kilometers, 2 minutes and 20. I think the break must realise that this is done for. I can't believe the spectacular pace down. It's as if today has just got quicker and quicker and quicker. Right now we're hovering just shy of the 60 kilometres per hour marker on the run to this incline. I think, as per previous years, on the first time of asking, there's been a big shell out. Look at the length, how it's strung out here, Brian, on the approach to the first climb.
Well, I'm not going to say they're looking at excuses by doing the work now. They're going to put in a lot of work in positioning and pace setting towards the front. You just see that bubble there as everybody's pushing and shoving coming up towards the front. The rest have either done their job or they're not looking to go over the top of this climb for the first time. So I reckon we're going to have possibly 50, 60 riders go over the top, maybe if that, and then round this circuit and then back up the climb, and it will be just pretty much every man for themselves. As we see again, Tinkoff really pushing hard with Bardiani right next to them. Yeah, Bardiani in the lime green, as you can see, just wrestling with it. They've got Bongiorno, Enrico Barbin, it's Pirazzi, almost an eternal favourite after some spectacular work by him against Joaquim Rodriguez in the past. The Whack Attack, by the way, is here. Perito is riding for Team Katusha. They've also got Igor Silin and Matvey Mamikin, who is a bit of a star, who's come into the firmament. The young Russian. Watch out for Mamikin for Katusha. He's fast, but he can go up some inclines as well. We speculate, though, because 2 minutes and 6 is all that these guys have. Impossible as a trio to match the sort of pace that the peloton have got approaching these guys. They'll match the pace a little bit more on the climb. It's just because the teams are using up a lot of their domestics to ride into the bottom of this climb, because that will be the job over for them. So they know where they're going. They've done this race before. DeMarchi's on some good form. I think Peter Kenyuk for Team Sky just hitting out, and one of the local riders from Nippo is in the three in front. Here we go then. It's time to start thinking about incline. You see over there towards the right, the road just starts to pick up right now. The Basilica awaits, but just about 3/4 of the way up, well, a little bit more than that, to be honest. Say for the last 600 meters, that's where they will just continue instead of turning left. So this is our preview as well as yours at home. Of course, some of you may well remember this from last year, but it's a big dig right now from Kenyuk. He would love to make this one happen, and I suspect that Alessandro DeMarchi is probably the best placed of this trio to stay, of the duo behind him, to stay with him, although Grusso's making a good fist of it as well. They're determined to go as long as they possibly can. That's the job. He was a missile up the road, Peter Kenyuk, and to be honest, Team Sky could do with a bit of cheer at the moment, as I'm sure you're well aware. We'll see what BMC can do. Indeed, Nippo Vini Fantini. They have their representatives up the road, and right now it's time to dig in. Yeah, Peter Kenyuk looking good. So he hit the bottom of the climb, wants to keep the pressure on. Looks like the Nippo Vantini rider, the Romani, starting to struggle now as expected. So it will be DeMarchi and Kenyuk. And Kenyuk's just purely thinking. He's put a lot of effort into it. He's just purely thinking of his teammates behind, and they don't have to chase. As long as I'm out here, they don't have to chase. As the peloton come to this left-hand corner as well. Yeah, big turn here, as you can see. Tendency usually is to drift towards the right to take a left-hander, but there's that street furniture, which means that if you're on that side of the road, you find yourself going backwards, as plenty are. A little bit of an error. They won't make the same mistake next time by. Welcome back.
Little bomblets have gone off just about everywhere, I'm afraid. Yondo Godoy back there for Willia Tristina. Meanwhile, look at this. It's dig-in time. Trying their level best to just stay where they need to. Domenico Pozzovivo is up towards the 4. About Pals as well. Thought it was him that's involved in the crash earlier on, but clearly he's in better shape than that. And there's Frank Schleck. Told you, being only, so 83 seconds. He's the leader of this race, and he's shelled out both Damarchi and indeed Grosso, I'm afraid, and is pushing on for his own glory. And as you can see from his cheeks, he roasts up well. And then there was one. Peter Koenig decides to push on the climb. And indeed, as you can see, as expected, Grosso first to go, and I'm afraid Damarchi just couldn't cope with the change of pace that Peter put on. Dug deep, and in fact right now he's going to have to dig very, very deep indeed. He'll be almost back to the Jurassic period, I think, by the time he's finished. And here, well, he is up front. This is the chase that's been engaged, and there for all to see. A bit of white clay chalk, incidentally, which is brighter than standard chalk. It's the sort of thing you see on outside Italian restaurants. Meanwhile, not as bright as the cheeks, of course, of Peter Koenig, and you can see some hit and hopers as well. No surprise that Bardiani are trying to get engaged further back. As they see the breakaway start to catch them, save for Koenig, they're going to believe that this is worth a sub-attack, and they're absolutely right, Brian.
Yes, it's Zoido at the front for Trek Segafredo. Last year's winner, Rosa, sitting in second place. Bargui over on the left-hand side for Giant Alpecin with the red helmet. Zardini for Bardiani right up there towards the front. So it's Trek Segafredo with Zoido that's doing the riding in the front, and it's Peter Koenig's kind of stemmed the decrease of the gap. It was coming down very quickly, so now we're on the climb as expected. Peter Koenig doing a very good job of kind of stemming the decrease or the rapid decrease in the time gap, and it does look as if he'll go over the top of this climb with some sort of an advantage.
I think so. And he'll make the turn. It'll be a downhill run. He's more than capable of coping with that sort of technicality, and Bardiani continue to push on. I was thinking about Pirazzi and the shenanigans that he engaged in, of course, a couple of years ago. In fact, they've assembled a team that are sort of minded to do exactly that. They're going to pick their races and indeed try their level best to, I guess, match the stars who care to take the trip. Sky have certainly brought a very, very strong team here, and they're trying to put recent bad press to one side and just get on with racing. And so they've come here strength in numbers. Now, I suspect that the team we've got here will largely be part of their team for Il Lombardia. You don't make this sort of trip without having that factor on board. So Zardini digs in deep. He's a clever rider, Zardini, on occasion. Likewise Pirazzi, and they do go for the cheeky. I guess it's the only thing that they can on occasion. There's David Arroyo starting to struggle at the back for Caja Rural. Watch out for Peleo Bilbao, though, who went very well in the Welter. And it would have been his kind of day, but this starting to pick them off. Damarchi first to be found by Eduardo, and he'll sail by him probably as a bit of a heartbreaker. I don't think Damarchi will be minded to push on too much further, but you can see just how extreme the inclines are, and off the curve here 14% is no laughing matter, but Zardini's coping well.
Zardini is a quality rider. If you can remember a couple of years ago up the Tumbo in Wales in the Tour of Britain stage, he won the stage and took the leader's jersey, so he's a quality bike rider and can climb very, very well. And obviously Bardiani like to get involved with the mix. They missed out in the breakaway, and as soon as we hit this climb you could see that Zardini was riding towards the front, and he was just you know, looking to try and attack it. But the thing is, when he attacked hard, and nobody has went with him.
He went on to finish 4th, by the way, just off the podium in the Tour of Britain. So I guess other terrain didn't suit him, but he likes this kind of incline. And when he took that stage, the day itself, it was a pretty tough one up the tumble, wasn't it?
Yeah, and there's some quality bike riders he beats in that stage. So he's a real quality, and he rode the Tour of Britain this year. Okay, he wasn't the same standard he was a couple of years ago, but he's obviously come out of that race with some good legs.
Certainly has. Yeah, just to underscore what Brian was saying, he beat Kwiatkowski, Nicholas Roach, Dylan Toynes, Bradley Wiggins, Sebastian Reichenbach as well. Sort of showed himself that day, finished 16 seconds down, but it was a real race up to the top of the tumble. Newtown to Tumble, of course, a tough one. Well, this is a tough course, as you can see, and it's taking quite a few along with it. Amar Moynard just going backwards. That was Dylan Toynes as well from BMC also. The red and blacks really are starting to shatter here. So if they had something out front in the form of Demarchi, I'm just wondering whether Darwin Atapuma, I don't think it's long enough for him today, the climb. But it's going to seem like a country mile to this man. Peter Kennick digging deep, but for how much, I'm afraid. And it looks like, for the time being, Edoardo Zardini is the fresher of the pair. 44 seconds now separating them, and he's 20.5, or they are 20.5 kilometres from the finish line. You're going to see that transition point in a few moments, Brian, as they come through the trees. But it's a fair old test, this, isn't it?
And it's not a consistent gradient. The average is 9%, but as you say, it does go up to 14% in bits, so it's a difficult climb to judge. But Peter Kenyock is making a nice fist of this. He started the climb with what, just under 2 minutes advantage, and you know, he's holding on to this man here by about 40 seconds. Still probably about a minute back to the peloton.
We do get fracturing on this climb. We've had it in the past, and we're expecting it again today, and that's precisely what you're seeing. So Zardini's pushing on. Let's just tell you about this climb then in more detail. 4.9 kilometres in length, 9.1% as an average, which is pretty much a stiff test, but 14% as a maximum, almost dead centre within it. Once they get to the top, they've then got a downhill run. They'll loop back round, and then they'll take on the final 5 kilometres again. And that's where we're heading to, the Basilica. And the maitresses' houses, as you can see, just dotted around the place as well. It's superb. It is beautiful. Down the other side, there's sort of a long escalator down to a housing estate, bizarrely. So 20.2 kilometres left of today. And then they'll be heading to this seminary. Yes, if you're feeling monkish, that's your place. 32 then seconds only, I'm afraid, for Peter Kennick, and he must know he stares straight down. That's the zone of the escalator, by the way. You sort of walk down through the trees, get the escalator, and it takes you down to sort of car parks and the rest of it. Although, as you can see, our friends from RCS have parked plenty of vehicles up at the top, next to the very pink Gazzetta dello Sport truck, which I can tell you is extremely comfortable, and they're very nice people, and they keep peanuts and coffee just for me and Brian, if he's lucky. Will this man be so lucky? Now that is will be the Flamme Rouge later on. However, in about 300-400 meters, he's going to go straight on, and you'll see, in fact, a little bit less than that. No, it's just plateaus a little bit. You see what I mean? What Brian was talking about, how it's difficult to set a rhythm here. Now he's going to be going straight on, despite the fact he'd quite love, I'm sure, to take a left up to the Basilica. Not that far behind is Zardini. It's a proper little chase going on. Haven't got a time on the peloton, but it is broken up all over this incline.
Yeah, Kenyock is going to go over the top of this climb with no more than 30 seconds on Zardini. Zardini can only be about 15-20 seconds in front of the peloton. It would be nice to see who's actually doing the damage, but a huge crowd looking at the Sky Man from the Isle of Man, doing a very good job for his team. I don't think he's going to stay away, but while he's in front, his team can just follow the wheels behind.
They certainly can, and that's the idea. Leo Koenig has got to be a great call today. Wout Poels maybe as well. He was 5th, Wout Poels, by the way, here last year. And so top 5, he'd like to go better than that. Peter Kennick grabs a friendly bottle with a gel attached to it. That goes in the back pocket, and down he goes. So that's the point where he would have turned left. Well, they do say about Italy that you get a warm welcome and you get good food. That's really a case in point, and when the weather's like this and everyone remains cheery, just before the Italians start to turn grey during the winter time. They don't do winter very well. Sardinia, I'm saying this with affection, by the way, because they are a spectacularly attractive race of people, just generally. They look great, they turn out well, and they turn out in their hordes here. It's not that far behind Brian, and they're heading downhill as well, past Trattoria Superga. Fine establishment. I wonder if we get free crisps later. We'll see. So 19 kilometres to go before they make the turn. So they'll make their turn for the last 600 next time by.
Yeah, probably just over about 30 riders, and it just goes to show you another group, Micah, going through there, their picture. So there will be possibly another group come back, and I'm expecting probably 50 or 60 to head to the next time round, but only about 30 riders in that main peloton now.
Yes, this known for the 1949 air disaster that killed the entire Grand Torino. You've heard, you know about the Manchester United air crash. Well, the Torino team as well, their aircraft unfortunately crashed into the mountain here in 1949, and there they are remembered, and it was a great team as well. Gosh, that's straight back in the memory banks for me. That was a long time ago I heard about that. But yes, sad indeed. It was in fog, crashed into the mountainside. I'm afraid they were all lost, those that were remembered there on that rather lovely mosaic. So, Peter Koenig, happier times for him? Well, not as disastrous, clearly, but I think he is, I'm afraid, not going to have a happy day today, but then again, stranger things have happened. Zardini pushes on to try and join him. He still has a modest advantage, Koenig. That's allowing Team Sky to keep their powder dry. Koenig, Lopez, Powles, Landa, they've got lots of options. Have broken the heart of Zardini, and indeed we know that they are absolutely exceptional descenders, and they're doing that right now. They lost Michele Scarponi earlier on today. Koenig, wow, terrific bunny hop, almost taking a sleeping policeman traffic calming device there in one superb leap. He's got 17 seconds, and in fact the longer he can go today, the better it is for his team. Meanwhile, we struggle to squint in the sunshine here. Very low frequency light, as you can see, casting long shadows. It is beautiful. Indeed, some of the villas down here have been tempting Brian to open his checkbook, but that hasn't opened for about 13 years. I remember the party. It was a good one. Well, it was just a barbecue. 18 seconds then. Sausages mainly. That's the gap with 14.8 to go. Here we go then, switching all over the road and almost catching up the motorcycles. He is descending like a demon. Unfortunately for him, so are Astana just behind, and they believe that he is within range. Surely it's got to be, Brian, too big an ask for Koenig, but what a team job he's done today.
No, he's done a very good job, and I did say this is a tricky descent, and I'm just thankful it's dry, because you know, these riders are going down, kind of thrown caution to the wind a little bit, and all Peter Koenig is thinking of doing is staying out here as long as possible. Astana, they've already lost one rider today because of a crash, and that was Scarponi. He was involved with a crash with excuse me, Mallory from Movistar. Mallory's just back from a horrendous accident earlier on in the year in Argentina, so I think two of them were up and moving, but yeah, Mallory, just back after a bad crash in Argentina, is now back on his bike, and he pretty much won his, I think it's his first race, and sad to say he's been on the deck today earlier on.
Afraid so. Diego Rosa was stopping to help him out. I don't know whether he managed to get himself back in, but Fabio Aru, I think, is the chosen son today, but they've also got Fulsan, Kangier, Vanotti, it's a team designed to do well here, and of course they're defending champions with Diego Rosa, who was stopping to help the stricken Michele Scarponi. Don't be surprised if Rosa has got himself back in. 15 seconds, a big old charge here in the motorcycle. It's one of those little jobs with 2 wheels at the front, so sometimes you'll hear a little squeal, because you can get wheel squeal from these particular craft, and he's doing a good job of staying away from them because he's punching a hole in the air that going into that void is Astana at the moment. 14 seconds Koenig still has. It's a big sort out. We said, Brian, once they're looped around the Basilica, they'll come back, the Mount I should say, they'll come back to it with only 5 kilometers to go, but we're going to be there before you know it. At this pace, we will be on the climb very, very quickly.
And this descent is just about staying in the wheel in front. Already gaps are starting to appear. There's probably no more than 40 riders in this front group. I believe that Rafa Majka just made it over the top. It'll be towards the back of this front group. Astana have got it between their teeth. They've lost Scarponi already today. They've last year's winner, Diego Rosa, in this front group, but I think, as you say, they're looking at a row today.
I think so. Just sitting in behind them, Roman Bardet, who I think many thought was favourite for today. He was runner-up in that Amelia race that's just taken place, top 10 in the age, of course, on a number of occasions. So this is that kind of sort of little spiteful test that he can go well on. Watch for Pierre-Roger Latour. Pierre Latour, great name for a cyclist, isn't it? Pierre being rock and Latour being the race. He had a fantastic welter. In fact, right at the very last, of course, that penultimate stage looked amazing. They've also got Domenico Pozzovivo, and that's why just behind Astana here you've got a line, is it 5, possibly more, AG Tour Le Mondial riders in their brown and white Familia. So they're all checking over their shoulders, Astana. No surprise either to see that Bardiani are also here. There is Cannondale. Sorry, Tinkoff. Well, maybe Rafa Majka does feel like turning the clock back to last year. And 2 from Giant. Warren Barguil surely got to be one of them.
Yeah, I think the riders in the lime green are in fact Cannondale. I can't see too many from Tinkoff at the moment, but there was a gap back to another group behind because there was about 40 riders came over the top, or just less than 40 riders. Majka came over the top, and I think he's got on to the back group, but it's kind of split in the descent because of the nature of the tricky corners.
You need to take that lozenge out your mouth, mate. 11 kilometres to go. Brian's got a sore throat. He's doing a great job. You're probably giving it to me right now. This man is giving it to everybody. He's dishing it Peter Koenig, but unfortunately the clock is out. All vehicles are out as well, and that means the gap is indeed closing down. So who is it for Cannondale that's in that group? Is it Vieira or is it Oran?
I think both of them are there. There seems to be 2 of them at the back as the junction is made between the front part of the peloton and the back part. So we will have about just over 40 riders in the main peloton behind Peter Koenig, who's only got a handful of seconds now.
So Koenig is going to get caught, I'm afraid. He's done a terrific job today. He's a proper fighter, is the Manxman. And here come the peloton chasing down. It's only 7 seconds now, and with 10 kilometres to go, it is all done. We're on the sort of loop around the Basilica, as you can see. They just finished the last part of their descent, and now it flattens out the road, comes back around the mount, and then we go back up again. Well, Sky seem to have been divorced, at least from that front group. There may be a coming together on the approach. Some hearts will be broken today, that's for sure. Franco Pellizzotti shooting the breeze there, Brian. Not kicking up a storm at that point, though.
No, he's there. He's got a teammate with him, but a very depleted peloton now, led by Astana. And as you rightly pointed out, a number of AG2R riders there, and they have got options, as you say, with Bardet and especially the Italian Pozzovivo.
Yeah, don't discount Pierre-Roger Latour as well, because he's such a powerful character. He's the sort of man who will sprint at least into the opening part of this stage if he was on his own. He may well be on nursing duties. San Mauro Tornese, small village on the outskirts of Turin apparently, with its own Benedictine Abbey, part of the Superga National Park, and it is quite superb, as you can see. They spent some money on bridges in this part of the world quite some time ago, and they are lovely. There's also a river lock, as you can see, for shipping, because it is an industrial part of the world, and it's barges that basically moved a lot of stuff around.
Well, they've just barged past Peter Kenyon. They've not seen him for a long period of time today.
Like what you did there, Bry. Here they come. They're charging into it. And Astana, will they dominate today? Will Aru, there he is in the white vented helmet, as you can see. Really wants to do something as he passes the bandstand. Not quite sure what tune is playing inside his head. It may well be a glorious one, we'll see. 8.6 kilometres then remaining. The Helicam just struggling to find them. He's picked the wrong road. Maybe he's showing his dad's garage, I'm not sure. But here we are, we're down to about 30 riders. And Aru, with that familiar sort of, this is his focused face, but it does look miserable. Let's see if he breaks into a smile a little bit later on. You can see that BMC as well have got themselves into position. Sammy Sanchez is there. I think he would probably be their chosen son on a day such as this, but don't discount Darwin Atapuma or Ben Helmans. I don't think Atapuma's in this group, however. Haven't seen the little fella. 8.1 kilometres to go then. You're looking at the back of the peloton right now. It's a long string of riders, and in fact we've left plenty down, and this is the time to go. And AG Tour Le Mondial have got strength in depth, and they can punch and counter punch, and that's what we're seeing now, Brian.
Well, it was Kanget that was doing a big turn for Astana, and behind him he had Diego Rosa, last year's winner, and Aru, and they weren't going to give him a turn, so he just swung over. As soon as he swung over, the attack started. Well,
Katusha as well. Mamakin is in the house, the Russian. Said watch out for him. And this is a bridge going on. Can't quite see who's wrestling to get over at the moment. Is it Michael Landa that's approaching rapidly? Can't see. There's lots of checking over shoulders as we speak right now. And they're saying, come on guys, let's start to work for this. Let's get on with it. Oh my goodness. Well, Katusha are part of it, and it is Mamakin, the big leggy Russian. Now he's full of youthful exuberance. We've seen a lot of him in La Vuelta. He can dive into a mountain. He's strong enough as well to make it stick. It may well be he's working for Joaquim Rodriguez or Igor Silin, but I think he's possibly going to be allowed to work for himself, and Michael Landa it is that just spears over to them and pushes on. They're burying themselves, and this is a good shout, to be honest, although they're reassembling with some other talent, to say the least.
It's a quality breakaway. Sam Amun is there for a giant Alpecin in the black, and also Lopez of Astana, so they'll be happy that Lopez is there. Very good win this year, and he had in the Tour de Suisse. So a small group starting to detach off the front of the main body of the peloton.
Well, they're weaving as well, but what tapestry will it be that they can wrap themselves in gloriously at the end of today? 6.6 kilometres remaining, that is all. And Javier Moreno it is. To be honest, I thought it would be Danny that was going for it. Maybe he's acting as a foil for him, but right now, as in any snack, they could wrap themselves in this. Let's have a look. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 riders of quality about to hit this climb. They've still got about 2Ks to go before they get there, but they've extricated themselves. And look how busy it is with AG Tour Le Mondial thinking about sending others to join their favoured son up the road.
Yeah, Lopez comes to the front. Nobody else wanting to one. I think that's Nimic for Lampre also in there, and yeah, a few passengers. Pelizzotti right there towards the back, and yeah, Karuao have got their rider in there, but at the end of the day, nobody's wanting to ride, and that might be the end of it. As one of the AG2R riders trying to come across there.
Well, it looks actually like Bardet, but Alessandro Tagliani it was for Androni Giocattoli in that group. 5.6 seconds, sorry, 5.6 kilometres remaining of today. So, in very short order, in about 600 metres time, they're going to turn onto the climb, and they're shaking heads as if, come on, if you want to work for it, then get on with it. And there seems to be a lack of desire at the moment for these guys to work together, I'm afraid.
Yeah, Nimic does his turn at the front for Lampre, but not really pushing on. He'll probably be under orders not to do this, and yeah, I'm not too sure this is going to stay away. A little bit of a chase now. Everybody seems to be in one line, and it doesn't look as if it's Astana have come to the front yet again.
Rodolfo Torres you saw going through, and that was Franco Pellizotti. Both will want to do something for Androni Giocattoli, and in fact still rolling on. And I still think that may be Bardet. We haven't got a confirmation on that for the time being, but he can really grind into a gap. He extricated himself, pulled away during that descent. He's good at that. Likewise, surely this isn't Pello Bilbao, is it? He digs in, he goes for it, and he's pushing on, as you can see. Little groupette starting to well, not a gruppetto, of course, but those, a little grouplet, that's the word I was looking for, just starting to fracture and push on at the moment. They can't decide who is going to take it up. They can reach out for glory here, but they've got to be extraordinarily brave, and will they be? Nobody wants to offer up assistance to others, and in fact we've got a few lieutenants up the road here who are supposed to be working for others, but they've got their chance.
Yeah, this is Lopez trying to bring it back, but Zardini again going. Yeah. He went the first time up. Nimic is there for Lampre. Landa also up towards the front, as we've already seen, but yeah, it looks as if it's the lower slopes. Michael Woods, the Canadian for Cannondale, decides to strike out. This is a hard climb. We've already seen it the first time up. 4.4 kilometres. To go this far out, you must have super legs. And Michael Woods is really
he's clearly got here. He really has clearly got the bit between the teeth. 4.3 kilometres to go. Now this is the sort of effort that can pay dividends here because of the mixed nature of the terrain. It's very, very hard to set a rhythm when it's constantly changing. In fact, almost flattening out, but 14% the maximum. And you can see some of the hopefuls, including Landa, just being caught here by a big push on. So who's going to reach out at the moment? It is Woods who's having a proper dig here. Michael Woods burying himself and not looking back, the Canadian. Well, Canadians seem to have very good success when it comes to racing in Italy. Nice looking bike as well, very thin and sinuous, as you can see, not one of the heavier molds. Meanwhile, some bigger frames physically are trying to dig in, potentially for glory, but Woodsy has gone for it. 29 years of age. He's on decent form as well, is Woods. Was runner-up in the Larry Miller Tour of Utah last year. In fact, took a stage there, but finished second overall. And you're thinking, well, what's that about? Well, to be honest, it drew some very, very big names and some very good climbers as well. Utah is not a flat place. He can climb. And right now he's got a modest advantage, but it gives himself the first look over the shoulder and then digs again. 3.9 to go.
I think if he looks behind, he might see an Astana rider trying to come across Lopez, the Colombian. And, you know, he's been in kind of reasonably good form at the moment, but this is a huge effort from the Canadian Michael Woods. Just looking behind, you can just see Lopez trying to come across. Zardini about to be caught by Madrazo's there. Bargui is involved in the action as well. So Lopez coming up for Astana, but they've still got some cards to play with Aru just behind.
They certainly have. So Lopez just burning himself, trying to just close down on Michael Woods, who's up the road just for the time being. Out of sight, perfect place to attack, but he has dealt with the most difficult part of this climb so far. There's Mamikin. I've been hugely impressed with him this year, and yet again, for a young man, he's put himself in a good place. He's in a shop window here.
He is, and he's doing a terrific job. He looks strong. Yeah, he's looks strong, and he's dishing out a little bit of hurt. But this man looks nice. He's okay. He's got his mouth open. He's trying hard at this moment in time, but he's got a nice pedal in action. He's riding very well, and I think you know, Cannondale will be happy with the situation, especially if they've got Uran in the group behind. You just see he's got the radio in his ear. He'll be giving information, and he's climbing well because Lopez, the Colombian from Astana, is not really coming up too quickly on him.
No, he's not. He's holding the gap at the moment, and this is the sort of drive that can bring dividends. Rosa won in similar fashion last year, where he just managed to hold off the charging Micah, Aru, Pino and Poles. Aru doesn't want to be made a fool of again. Meanwhile, these guys, as you can see, just starting to think about how they're going to work together, I think. At the moment, everyone's leaning on Mamikin. He was given, in a couple of breaks during the Welter, he was given, unfortunately, for doing too much of the work. And I think that's possibly a mistake he may well be going to make again today. But don't discount Woods. He's still holding this line. Man closest to him is Lopez for the time being. Question is, how much further into this climb can they get before they start believing in this?
Yeah, I know someone that does believe in this rider. Even last year when he got in contact with me, Gord Fraser, for you know, the ex-pro from Canada, and he said this guy is an exceptional talent, and he's going to go a long way, and he's right. He started the year off very well in the Tour Down Under, but he's really given it to everybody now, because Lopez, he won the Tour de Suisse this year, struggling to come across to him.
Cannondale Drapac, by the way, will have Taylor Phinney amongst their number for next year. He's turning a new page, so he's leaving BMC, who've been a great team for Taylor Phinney, by the way. They stood by him for a long, long time. I am surprised at the move, I must say, but I'm wondering whether they still believe. I'd like to. Alessandro Tagliani it is that's pushing on. There's Mamikin, and Hubert Dupont it is for AG Tour Le Mondial. And Mamikin, I think, possibly going to get mugged again on this incline. Now then, Woods, is he going to have company? Yes. Will it be dangerous? Probably. Lopez then tries to just to get over the Colombian. It's a kind of a Colombian incline, but it's not very Colombic weather, is it? Let's see if it turns out to be one for the Canucks. 2.7 kilometers then. It's a proper grind, this, Brian. They're on that last steep section. If they can get over this, it's about 12% that they're going to deal with now. You can see how steep it is by the way that the crowd are standing in attitude to the road. And there it is. Once he rounds this corner, it should ease just a little for him.
Yeah, he's really starting to struggle a little bit now, and so is Lopez. I think a big reaction still has to come from behind. Okay, it's only 2.6 kilometers, but you know, easy's here a little bit, but it's some steeper parts still to come. But it does look as if Woods is starting to feel the effects of his effort now.
A little bit of a reassembly just behind, and I don't think it's Pirazzi for Bardiani. I think it might be Pello Bilbao for Caja Rural. It's difficult from the heli shot to tell them apart. Pretty similar. These guys, similar effort, you might say. And here is the chase that's just starting to be revealed. And Tagliani for Androni going for it. Oh, and there's the push by. Now then, can Woods stay on his wheel? That's the big question.
Well, he did. Well, first reaction there, Lopez came up, had a look at him, and decided to try and go past him. But Woods has still got something left in the tank. He made a big effort right from the bottom. Lopez was slow coming up, just rode his own tempo. This race, 2.3 kilometers to go, still some hard climbing. Bargui is, he must be sitting behind Tagliani still. I don't think he's been caught, but just looking behind now, we're starting to see the reaction from the riders from the kind of main group.
Here they come, and it looks like there's a brief accord between these two. We're going to work together. Oh, and straight away Lopez just digs in and goes. Oh, there's your answer from Caja Rural. It's Pardilla, incidentally, and this man is trying to shake Woods off. He doesn't want him to recover, and he can do on the flatter sections that we're hitting right now. Only 2 kilometers to go, and in fact I think pressure off. It may well be that pairing up front are going to have their fun, because the chase can't decide who's going to take it up. And here they come with Romain Bardet also sort of just trying to dig deep on this climb right now. My goodness, hard work, but will it come to naught if there is Bardet being guided into position? Good effort, and so much great work being done today. 1,800 meters only to go, and I think the pair up front are going to have their fun. Here we are. Well, it's happened before, Brian. A real shattering of everybody. The pace today has had a wearing effect, and once we got to the 2 climbs, twice they had to do this, and finally it's flattening out for these guys, and that ticker hasn't moved for quite some time, but neither has the gap diminished. And here they go, they're still wrestling into it. It's an uphill sprint for those guys, and I think they're going to share it.
Yeah, now we get to Tagliani. just about to be caught by the AG2R-led peloton. Still leaving it late, a lot of the riders. Okay,
Bardet's
is there
got
for
on the attack. He just drifted left. He's now seen his man do his work, and Bardet is going to try and eat into this gap. Now, we've seen Bardet do this in the past. How fresh is he? Well, he's on great form. He was runner-up in Emilia, and here is Bardet. We just caught a very short glimpse of him engaging the attack, and he's just dragging into the affairs here. Willia Triestina, and they'll rock and roll. But these guys up front know they've got a great chance. 1,500 meters now. The incline is dipped to around 8%, but after such a long day and a pacey day, it's going to feel steeper than that.
The thing is, Uran is sitting there nicely for Cannondale. He's just protecting Woods. Woods is the faster finisher of both of these, and Lopez will know this. He's recovered a little bit, Woods, and is trying to keep the pressure on, because he knows that if he even come to the finish with Lopez, he's got a very good chance of winning. But Lopez really has to try and get rid of him. But only 20 odd seconds in front of Bardet. But who's going to help Bardet? That's the question, because Uran's in.
Oh, a sub-attack as well, coming straight in from Lopez. And Woods just gets back out of the saddle and matches him side by side. Mano a mano, they've got 11 seconds. It will probably be enough, unless Bardet is going to be able to skip up this incline. We look through these guys, and they're weaving behind Bardet out of the saddle, back into it, almost as a constant. And Droni just trying to work into the incline. Nobody wants to help anybody else, and this is where you can it can backfire on you. There's Aru for Astana in the pale blue. Pozzovivo's also still here for AG Tour Le Mondial, the diminutive Italian. But they still can't make this count. And look at this, the gap's extending out front, and they're coming to the Flamme Rouge, so it's going to be a shootout between this pair.
Yeah, very much look like that. They'll see the Flamme Rouge just a few metres in front of them, and they're trying to get rid of each other. I think Michael Woods, the Canadian for Cannondale, this could be possibly his biggest win of his career. He's already won some good races in the States last year, but Lopez needs to try and shake him off if he wants to try and win the States.
Lopez has tried to do exactly that though, Brian, and it's come to nothing for him. Now, this is the section which actually dips down, and then they make that turn. Well, you've got to be brave if you're going to make it count today, and Bardet is exactly that. He tries, he's tried again, and this is his attempt to sprint back into contention now. His only hope is if the two men in front of him start to look at each other. There is Rigoberto Urán in the green, also looking fresh, and he's come to stellar form late on in the season. He double checks over his shoulder just to make sure that nobody's going into the void that he's going to go for in a few moments' time. Watch the man in the lime green as Bardet continues to bury himself. He can't shake everybody, and now it's time for Woodsy to go for it. Here we are, it's the wood burner, and he takes it up. Staying with him is Lopez for the time being, and the crowd in the way. They're going to take a left-hander in a few moments' time. You see the motorcycles going where he needs to be. There it is. Now this is the pickup to the Basilica. Oh, and the camera bike almost getting into him, or he into the camera machine, which wasn't clear fast enough. They get called out, and Lopez picks it up. Oh, and I'm afraid Woods has fried. There he goes, and Lopez, the Colombian, is going to take this one. Woods knows it as well. He's back out of the saddle. He's been runner-up on days like this before. But Lopez now looks to be the most comfortable, unless something dramatic can happen to Michael Woods. There he is. Well, he bode his time beautifully. They've been wrestling all the way up the incline. He looked like he was spent. I don't know whether it was kidology, but it looks like Astana are going to take another win. They've got Diego Rosa, top step of the podium last time by, and there's Bardet. He's burnt it all, I'm afraid. It's not going to happen for Bardet, the race favourite. So a surprise winner today, and here comes Woods trying to pick it back up. He's trying to sprint into the gap, but Lopez holds on. I think 250 meters right now for the Colombian, and he's going to be able to start thinking about how he's going to celebrate this one. That's a gap that's not going to be bridged today. Excellent work by him. Good pace as well by Astana. They weren't ruffled by the break, even though it was a high quality one. He's into the hoarded sections right now, and for everybody else, I'm afraid this is going to be minor places. Here he is, 100 meters remaining, and a lone finisher. We've seen it before on the Milano-Torino, and this man is going to be there again. A private party, you might think. Well, there was plenty of invitees, but several got chucked out, I'm afraid, on this incline. Great work by Lopez, and chapeau as well, you have to say. to Michael Woods, the Canadian, is going to come in, and it's Uran that will be third. So 2 from Cannondale Drapac on the day's podium. They'll have hoped for more. Disappointment reigns for so many today, but Lopez, all credit to him, and I think even Aru will give him a big smile and a cuddle. Good race.
A very good race for Woods, and he really went for it. Bardet just shaking his head now. Barguil comes in, Leopold Koenig just at the back of that trio there, but Posivivo now coming. But it was a big win for Lopez. So the title, they won it last year with Diego Rosa, and won it this year with the Colombian Lopez. But Woods really went for it. I was thinking, Jesus, what's he doing? Because he's got a big acceleration, as we saw when he went into that corner. But I think he was thinking that the finish was just round the corner, and he blew his legs completely. This man was up to the task and then swept past him, took the race. Uran makes it a second and third for Cannondale. Danny Marino was up there in fourth place. Ulisse with Lampre. Some good names in there. Was in fifth. But yeah, Colombia's day today, first and third with Lopez, a very worthy winner of this year's Milan-Turin.
Confirmation then, he wins it by 9 seconds from Michael Woods. Rigoberto Uran in the frame. Danny Moreno of Movistar in fourth place ahead of Ulisse. Fabio Aru of Astana, winning team today with Lopez, of course. Pelo Bilbao from Kaya Rural, Rodolfo Roman Bardet and Warren Barguil. Some big names there, but beating them all, Lopez. Well, something of a surprise winner, I think you might say. It always looked like a breakaway might have a chance today, but it was to reform, and then it was a breakaway, albeit a secondary, or indeed the third move that really stuck today. This was the moment where Lopez took control.
Yeah, it really accelerated into this corner, the Cannondale rider, Woods, but he came round the corner and didn't have the legs. Obviously he doesn't know this course, but I think he would have reckoned it yesterday. But this is the man that decided to go pretty much halfway up the climb, went after Woods, caught him, and only really left him in the last few hundred metres. Nice result. Uran coming around the corner, maybe a little bit of shake of the head. We'll have to wait and see, why shaking the head, thinking, I could have won that myself. But this is the man that won. And a very good win at that. He showed well this year in Tour de Suisse, and he's winning again here today.
I think Uran was told on the radio not to help Bardet close the gap because they believed in Woods, and he could have pushed on at that point. I think that was the shake of the head to say
he could have won it.
Well, exactly. There we are. That's bike racing. It's
that's the choices you make, and
exactly.
Why not give Uran's had plenty of opportunities. Why not give Woods the opportunity to try and win the race? He did look good halfway up the climb. He was still looking good, and then just before Lopez caught him, he started to suffer a little bit. And that big acceleration before that left-hand corner, maybe if he'd have bluffed a little bit, you never know what was going to happen. But at the end, I think the strongest climber won.
You're absolutely right. Well, tactics really falling apart for Cannondale Drapac, with Uran clearly looking very, very fresh and good enough to win this, but I think possibly told to hold fire. The danger being, of course, he would have guided Roman Bardet into contention, which would have presumably also been bad news for Woods. He was given his chance, but unfortunately he couldn't take it because Miguel Ángel López of Colombia getting yet another dose of success for Colombia late in the season.
Miguel, that was hugely exciting on the final climb, but how confident were you against the Canadian Michael Woods?
Sí, bueno, estaba seguro que en el último Giro podía probar porque estaban los compañeros
I started this final sort of season of races as best I could at the end of the season. Great ambition as they came into the race.
Alguno de ellos respondía después.
Gracias.
And he just responded with good pace at the end, is about the best I can get out of that Colombian, but no help there from our erstwhile colleague Dan Lloyd either. Thanks, Dan. Meanwhile, great result for Astana. They retained the title within the team. It was clever stuff.
it was strong stuff when you consider the quality riders behind, and he just rode away from them. Went across to Woods. He never went across quickly. Woods was holding on, which means that Woods was riding really well. But I think Lopez done a better pacing job in the end, and as a deserved winner. But hats off to Michael Woods. That was a tremendous performance today, and he should be happy with that.
Should indeed. Well, we're going to take our leave because traditionally it takes an awful long time to get a podium sorted out in Italy. I'm not quite sure why. Relaxed is the word. But anyway, good race today, and more to come this weekend. And don't forget, we will also have Il Lombardia. You up for that, Brian?
Very much so.
How's your throat? Would you think your throat will be recovered by then?
Of course it will.
Ah, good. So, congratulations to Miguel Ángel López. Commiserations to Michael Woods. We race on in this busy period of Italian races.